Growing up, there was only one annual event that brought together family, extended family, relatives you've never met before, and members of the community with deep roots in the area. It's called Decoration Day. And as an adult, I've discovered that a lot of folks have never even heard of Decoration Day. But we're going to tell you all about it. I grew up outside of Jasper, Alabama in Walker County. Deceased members of my mother's side of the family are buried in a small cemetery next to a defunct Baptist church called Pleasant Grove. Here, Decoration Day is on the first Sunday of May every year. Family members arrive with new flower arrangements to place on the graves of my grandmother, great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother, great-great-grandfather, and various other relatives I never had the chance to meet. But there are Decoration Day events like this in other Alabama cemeteries and all across parts of the South. We talked to Joey Brandner from the Alabama State Council on the Arts to learn more about how this tradition started.
Decoration Day is a folk ritual. It's kind of like a holiday, and it really occurs mainly in white communities in the upland South or Appalachia. We think it's older than, say, the Civil War. So we're at Old Blue Creek Baptist Church. It is close to the Jefferson and Tuscaloosa County lines. I'm sitting just a few feet away from my grandfather's grave. He was a coal miner, but I never knew him. But all my life I've come to decoration here. Decoration here is on Mother's Day, and it is in many other cemeteries. And we would come here, we would have a meal. There would be singing inside the church here. My older family members would tell me about my grandfather, who I never met. And so I feel like I know who he is, partly through this process. Communities come out and they clean and maintain a burial ground. And then they come back that Sunday and they have a feast and a big community family reunion.
Chris Blake hails from the Fort Payne area and has spent a few years working in cemeteries. He talked to us about his work and his own family's Decoration Day traditions.
Decoration Day is usually a lot of work on the cemetery side and on the monument side of it. Before, when I was in the cemetery, I usually worked somewhere around 70, 80 hours a week for the couple weeks leading into it, and then usually all weekend, the weekend of decoration, which at Glenwood was on Mother's Day. You just had to pretty much make sure everything was immaculate and well manicured, because if not, then I would get roasted at Jackson Hardy's Monday morning for sure. At Fisher and Payne Gap Cemetery, where I visit with my family, they don't really have a potluck or anything. They just kind of decorating it with flowers and focusing on just visiting with family and making sure everything looks good for the coming year.
All traditions change. This tradition will be changing, and so you see decorated graves where there's still family members close by or who have a strong tradition of coming from afar, and you see little or no decoration in other parts of the graveyard. In my family, there's a less emphasis on going to the graveyard and putting flowers than it is on that weekend for us all to get together. And that it's that social aspect, that stage for oral history, for learning about your family that's just so precious.
When my family, my mother and my seniors have passed on, I'm still going to be carrying my girls up there decorating their graves and meeting with the family that's still there and the new families.